Hi, AP/CSP students. I'm back again to try to give you further good examples of things that you can work with to make your project as best as possible. Your create task, I don't want you to feel like you're out there on your own trying to figure out what to do. So I'm going to just keep on trying to show you things that will spark your, um, you know, knowledge of possible options of what you can do. So at some point, a couple years back, I made this little app called, I call it my CSP promotional app. And basically, I'll just run it for you here. It is an app that basically asks students, like I would bring this to the elective fair and the AP elective fair in December and hand it on my phone to somebody and say, here, you want to take my little quiz? And they would answer these questions. Which of these things do you use regularly? Computer, smartphone, streaming media, online shopping. I'm not a big video game player. I used to be when I was little, but not so much anymore. I just don't have time. So I'm going to leave that one unchecked. But the more checks the person gets, these on events handle the checks, and it basically increments a variable, a global variable that is accessible to the whole program code. So anytime a check mark is clicked, it would increment and add 1 to a score. Okay. Then there's a next button, goes to another screen. If you could have lunch with one of these tech company leaders, who would you pick? And I'm going to pick the StubHub CEO. Okay, and so that gets me certain point values. Not that a user would know that, they would just kind of like click out of interest. But my whole idea of this app was to also just kind of promote awareness of computer science and how it's so much in all of life and um, kind of generate interest and be able to tell people this, you can make an app like this yourself, when you learn how to program. So did you ever wonder how devices work? Yes. How the internet works? Yes, we learned that. How data is sent securely, how to make apps, graphics and animation, digital data. What's coming next in technology? Yes. The more clicks, the more the higher the score goes, the raw score, that is. Then when we've clicked the final button, it gives a percentage and basically always encourages everybody to join a computer science class. So this is my own proprietary, formula for how I create that percentage, but it does come out different every time depending on the number of clicks. So I've got these global variables up top that in my code, I'm just going to walk you through it so you see what I've done. And I'll point out some other, reminders of the way we wrote code together when we were in class. So global variables at the top, we declare them once with the var and we give them a name and we set their initial value, and then you never use var in front of that variable again in the rest of your code. From then on, if you want to use that variable, you just use the name of the variable. Don't use var to declare it again. That could cause you all kinds of weird issues that you may not realize why they're happening. So that's just a quick reminder. Var means you're declaring, you're setting aside memory for that variable to be held somewhere. And after that, you just use the name of the variable, never var in front of it again. Okay. Now, I have a whole series of event handlers here that are taking all the clicks that a person does on the screen and doing something with them, like going to the next screen if they click on the first start button. Then I have a whole series of event handlers here, and I put comments in the code to explain it to whoever might be looking at the code, that these next series of event handlers basically take any click from screen 2 on a checkbox, and no matter which checkbox it is, it adds a point to the number of checks that the user has made. Okay, so these are really all the same. They just for different checkboxes. Okay. So each object on the screen, each checkbox object had to have an event handler to do that. Okay. Really no getting around that. Then I've got an on event that takes you to the next screen. The screen. And I keep on printing out the number of checks at the bottom just so that as I, the programmer, watch the program running, I can verify that, like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be looking. You don't actually need all those console log statements unless you want them. Then I have a whole series of, let me go back to design mode for a second, the tech leader screen. Okay. I have a whole series of event handlers where if they click on either the image or the text below it, like I have image, text below it, image for Parisa Tabriz, text area below that, the image for Raji Arasu, and the text area below that, Sandberg, and the text area below that, the image or the text area. It's a lot of repetitive event handlers, but for each of them, I am going to call a function that sends in the name of which thing was clicked on and a point value. So this function, process tech leader choice, is down here. Here's my function that I wrote, process tech leader choice. It takes in the name of the person and the point values, and it will just print that to the screen as a verification, like that they clicked on that person. So person clicked, and then depending on which tech leader it is and how many points I sent into this function is how many the tech leader choice variable will get. So the fact that the reason I did this separate function is because I noticed that for each of these event handlers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for all 8 of those event handlers, I was doing 3 different commands. I was first printing a verification to the console log, then I was updating a point value, and then I was setting the screen to go to the next screen. So those 3 commands, I packaged them up into a function called process tech leader choice. And now in all of those 8 event handlers, instead of having 3 lines of code, I only have 1 line of code that calls this function to do those 3 lines of code. So this is a perfect example of abstraction. I created a function. It's a very simple function. It just adds the points into a global variable and it sets you to go to the next screen. That's it, really. And it puts a little verification to the console log. But it was a function I designed with parameters so that the thing that gets printed to the screen is specific to that button that was clicked or image. And the point value that gets assigned into the global variable is specific to that person that was clicked. So when they click on Zuckerberg, you're going to see my preferential coolness factor built in here. When they click on Zuckerberg, they only get 1 point. If they click on Parisa Tabriz, they get 4 points. So 3 points for the StubHub CEO and 2 points for the Facebook COO, Sheryl Sandberg. As you can see, I use this app to try to get more female participation in computer science because it typically, in the past, has been heavily, more interest generated in the male population. So I am, of course, giving highest priority to the females in this situation. That's just my proprietary formula. And I'm allowed to do that because I wrote the app. But anyway, so then let's see. That is using a function over and over and over and over again. 8 times I call it, and it does 3 different, commands. And then moving on here to, there's more checkboxes on the next screen, screen 4. There's all these checkboxes. Each one is just a separate checkbox. The more they click on a checkbox, the more points they get in num user checks. And then when they finally click this next button, this is the next button, what's going to happen is this onEvent function or event handler is going to call 2 other functions and then go to the last screen. So this function, get raw score, does a very simple calculation. But look, it's a mathematical calculation. I played around with the number of checkboxes and the tech leader choice and tried to get it to be something in a range of percentage values that would be reasonable. So based on how many checkboxes there are times 8 plus the tech leader choice that they gave, it generates a number that is going to count as their percent chance. That's the raw score, however. So The next thing that happens after the raw score is calculated is that I do something called interpret the score. All right. And this is all stuff that can happen behind the scenes in any app. You might be like, how are they determining which Seinfeld character I would be or which Friends character I would be? They just put their own twist behind it, right? So here's my interpretation of the score. If a person gets less than 60, I'm going to admit that they got a pretty low score, but I'm going to say something positive anyway. And I'm not actually going to show them their percent score that is below 60%. I'm actually going to change it by giving it a random percentage between 60 and 80. Okay, so that's my little secret. I never show something less than 60%. But I want this to seem like an authentic app, that it's going to give a percentage that's different no matter how many, based on how many things you click. Okay, then there is the, otherwise, if they got something higher than 60, I just tell them their score and that they should definitely sign up for computer science. Okay, so I'm setting the text of the message box on the next screen so that when I go back here, after interpreting the score, when I set the screen to the last screen, when they get there, it will have the specific message up here and the percentage. Okay, so this is my app. I explained to you all the code, and now I'm going to tell you how I would answer the questions. Basically, I'm going to show you how I will create the text file with all the code in it and then put the rectangle and the oval around it. Right, so from the Google Classroom, let's see, I'm going to just pick one of my Google Classrooms, block 2. I'm going to go to classwork, and I'm going to go to the create task resources files, and I'm going to look at the code capture instructions. Okay. So here is one way to get the rectangle and oval around the stuff in your code. Okay. Go to this CodePrint website. Okay. This has been designed specifically for the create task. So I'm going to give my project a title, APCS promo app code. Other text, if you want to put some other text there, you can. They have like some sample code in here, or maybe this is the last time I was here. I put some code in there, I don't know, but I'm going to just delete the code that's there. Now I'm going to switch back to my code.org workspace. I'm going to Control A, select all. Okay. Control C, make sure that first of all, I'm in text mode, not blocks mode. Okay. But I have Control A, Control C to select all. Then I'm going back to the CodePrint tab and I'm Control V, pasting the entire code in there. Okay, now you'll see my code show up in this box, and I need to put an oval around an algorithm that includes 2 other algorithms, right? Let me just verify that that's right. Oval is for algorithm that includes 2 other sub-algorithms. So let me click on oval. Okay. Right here, you got oval. Now, the algorithm that I am going to choose to show is this right here. Okay. This event handler counts as an algorithm because it has several steps. It prints some verification to the screen, it gets the raw score, it interprets that score, and then it goes to the next screen. That's a finite set of instructions that accomplishes a task. Okay, so I put an oval around that. Now, those 2 lines of code, 99 and 100, those are the sub-algorithms. I don't have to put an algorithm, I don't have to put an oval around the sub-algorithms. I can describe in my written response that get raw score is one of the algorithms inside of this algorithm, and interpret score is one of the algorithms inside this algorithm. Okay. Now, I'm also going to put a rectangle around an abstraction I developed. Now okay, so I'm going to go up and now add a rectangle to the abstraction that I want to highlight in my answer choices. And the abstraction I'm going to choose is my function called process tech leader choice. Because if you remember my description before, this one function takes in a person to just kind of verify to my console log with a message, and then a point value, and it adds that specific point value to the global variable, and it sends you to the next screen. So these 3 lines of code are a package, they've kind of been abstracted out of the main code up here so that I don't have to have 3 lines of code for every image that would be clicked on. I can just call that one function multiple times, send it a different point value depending on which image or text area was clicked, and I can reuse the code. So that's a good example of abstraction. It makes this code easier to read, and it's reusable, it's more maintainable. If I decide to do something different where I want to do more with that, I could change it in one place and it would have the same effect on all of these different places. So this is my abstraction in a rectangle. Okay, now I need to save this file as a PDF. And they have built that in to this tool for us where we just click print. And instead of the destination being some printer, you click save as PDF. Okay, so I did that. I clicked save as PDF, and now I go into my files where I left it. And I actually didn't rename it, so it's just called bakerfrank.github.io. But that's my file. If I open up that PDF, I should see all my code with the rectangle and the, here it comes. I think it's opening in, Microsoft Edge. I don't really like Microsoft Edge, sorry. Not my favorite browser, but it's going to open my PDF for me, I believe. Oh, come on. Sorry, going to close Microsoft Edge. And I'm just going to select open with Google Chrome. Okay, here it is. So there it is. That's my file with my rectangle and my oval in it. Now, to include my rectangle and oval in my written responses, what I might want to do is take a screenshot using the print screen button on my computer, take a screenshot and crop out just this little section for the oval so that I can paste that into my written response and crop out the rectangle portion to paste into the other written response. Now, actually, I noticed that these got shifted a little bit in the process. So let me try that again. I don't think it's that big a deal because I did put the rectangle around the function. If it doesn't work, just try again until it seems right. Maybe move it down a little bit if it seems to be shifting upward. Keep saving it until you get something that you like how it looks. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful to you to know what to do in, getting the code into a PDF with those things on it. It seems it's really simple, a lot easier than messing around with like Google Docs or whatever. All right. So continue on and get that create task done. I'll be talking to you again soon. Bye.